We are all set to welcome sir. With a huge round of applause, please welcome our guest speaker, former Rochi Sri A.S. Dulat. Welcome sir. Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Pritam and I would like to welcome you all to another session of Kautilya School of Public Policy presents Compass 2023 for another thought-provoking and enlightening discussion. Now, I am profusely elated to introduce our speaker, Sri A.S. Dulat, the former ROD chief and the author of book A Life in the Shadows, a memoir. Sri A.S. Dulat is one of India's most respected and experienced intelligence officer, and his memoir offers a rare glimpse into the shadowy world of intelligence gathering. Mr. Dulat has had an illustrious career in the intelligence services of India, serving in various capacities spanning over 3 decades. Mr. Dulat was involved in several high-profile operations, including the rescue of Indian Airlines passenger from Kandahar in 1999. Through his book, A Life in the Shadows, a memoir, Mr. Dulat has provided a nuanced perspective on the Kashmir conflict and its implications for India's national security. His insights into the region's complex political landscape and the challenges of maintaining law and order in the face of militant insurgency are invaluable. Now, I would like to call upon Pradyum for a brief presentation showcasing A.S. Dulat sir's life.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Pradyumna Kumar Rao. Today, I have received an auspicious opportunity to give a presentation on Sri A.S. Dulat. In the world of intelligence and national security, few names command as much respect and admiration as that of Sri A.S. Dulat. With a career spanning over 3 decades, he has served as the Chief of India External Intelligence Agency, the Research and Analysis Wing, and has played a key role in shaping the country's security policy. But what makes him truly remarkable is not just his achievements, but also his unique perspective and approach to the world of espionage and counterterrorism. Born in Sialkot, Punjab, undivided India in 1940, he joined the Indian Police Service in 1965. In 1969, he joined the Intelligence Bureau, India's domestic intelligence agency, where he worked for over 3 decades. During his tenure in IB, he gained extensive experience in intelligence gathering, analysis, and covert operations. He became the Joint Director in the year 1988 in Kashmir, when the valley was in a state of great turmoil, and served in the position till 1990. He became the Chief of RAW in 1999. During his tenure, he was known for his hands-on approach and ability to build relationships with sources, which helped him gather critical intelligence for India's national security and played a pivotal role in India's covert operations against Pakistan during the Kargil War. But despite his success in the world of intelligence, he has always been a maverick, known for his unconventional approach to problem solving and willingness to challenge conventional wisdom. After he retired from RAW, he was appointed as a special advisor for the Kashmir region in the year 2000. He has been a vocal advocate for dialogue in Jammu and Kashmir and has called for greater engagement with all stakeholders to find a lasting solution to the conflict in the region. One of his most notable achievements was his role in initiating back-channeling talks between India and Pakistan in early 2000s. Despite fierce opposition from hosts in both countries, he persisted with his efforts, believing that dialogue was the only way to achieve lasting peace. His efforts ultimately paid off, with two countries signing a ceasefire agreement in 2003 and making progress toward resolving the long-standing issue in Kashmir. His emphasis on dialogue and reconciliation has won him many admirers, both in India and abroad. Sri S. Dulat is a respected figure in field of national security, and his opinions on intelligence and security matters are often sought after by policymakers and analysts in India and around the world. Despite his years of experience in intelligence work, he remains humble and grounded and is known for his honesty and integrity. Alongside being a maverick in the field of intelligence, he is also a profound author, some of his well-known books being The Spy Chronicles and Kashmir, The Vajpayee Years. Sri S. Dulat's book, A Life in the Shadow, is a fascinating glimpse into the world of intelligence and espionage, written by one of India's most respected spy masters. But what makes this book truly compelling in its unique perspective on the world of counterintelligence and security. He challenges conventional wisdom and advocates for a more human and empathetic approach to counterterrorism. And today, we have received a wonderful opportunity to gain insight on this wonderful book by the wordsmith himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradyum, for the insightful presentation. Now I would request the moderators of this session, Utkarsh Mishra and Shikhar Nathani, to kindly escort our guest speaker, Mr. A.S. Dulat, on the stage. A huge round of applause, guys. Now the moderators will carry the session forward. Over to you, Utkarsh and Shikhar.
As you've quoted in your book, sir, trouble has followed me wherever I have gone. Today, we'll talk about those troubles. We'll talk about the Sikh riots of 1984. We'll talk about the Kashmiri Pandit's exodus of 1990. We'll talk about his dear friend, Dr. Farooq Abdullah. Sir, I, Shikhar Nathani and Utkarsh Mishra, we warmly welcome you to Campus 2023, presented by Kautilya School of Public Policy. Sir, I'll explain you the format of the discussion. It will be a 45 minutes book talk followed by audience question and which will be followed by book signing event outside the auditorium. Now sir, with your due permission, I would like to start the event. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, espionage is always discussed behind closed doors. Being a spy is an unconventional profession, but still you took the brunt on your shoulders to write a book about this. You're the first Indian to do so. What was the idea that inspired you to write this book?
Thank you very much. I must thank Hindu College, your principal, and everybody else for having me. The two of you especially who've been in touch with me. And all the very kind words which were said about me by the last two speakers. And it's a privilege to be here, you know. And before I start saying anything else, let me tell you, it takes my mind back a long, long time, because this is a different Delhi. This is a different atmosphere. And somebody, I think it was Shikhar who said that you're excited that I'm coming here. You can't imagine how excited I am to be here. You know, unfortunately, I never reached Delhi University. I was educated at home in Punjab University. And therefore, I have taken the liberty to bring my dearest friend who belongs to Hindu College. And I'm sure you're happy to have him here, Mr. Subhash Sehgal. But let me tell you, okay, while I never studied in Delhi University, जब पार्टीशन हुई, मैं बच्चा था 6 साल का, 6.5 साल का, तो हम इसी दिल्ली में आए थे. आज यहाँ आते हुए, I was talking to Subhash because he knows, you know, Hindu College and he knows the university. For me, it's a very long time ago. And all this civil lines also has changed. But that's where we lived for 6 years, you know. There used to be a road, I'm sure it's still there, called North End Road, which connected Rajpur Road to Alipur Road. और हम वहाँ 6 साल रहे, 47 से 53 तक. And then in the end of 52, early 53, my father became a high court judge and he shifted to Shimla. तो मुझे कल जैसे याद है कि यहाँ हिंदुस्तान में जब कोका कोला पहली बार आया, I think it was the end of 1950 or the beginning of 51. Before that, as youngsters, we used to drink only Vimto or lemonade. तो पता चलेगा कि नया ड्रिंक आया है. So we used to walk down from North End Road to, there was a shop on Alipur Road before you came to Maiden's Hotel called Exchange Stores. I don't know if that shop is there. तो 4 आने का Coca-Cola मिलता था. And we were very excited about it. Just almost as excited as I am to be here. Now let's come to your questions. Sorry, I've forgotten the question. Can you just repeat it, please?
Sir, I was just asking what inspired you to write this book?
Yeah. Inspiration, you know, sometimes it's accidental, sometimes something inspires you. Let me say, and I think I've said this in this book somewhere, that, you know, if you want to write, you must read a lot. Because without reading, you can't write. This is one thing you must remember. I had fortunately written a couple of books before I ventured into this one. And but during the lockdown, during the pandemic, I did a lot of reading. And that got me thinking till one day, one of our more famous, better known, what do you call them, literary agents, Kanish Gupta came to me and said, Dulat sahab, agle 4 mahine mein 2 kitabein likhi. I said, kya bak rahe ho yaar? Kya kitabein likhni hai mujhe? Bole, ek to you write a memoir. I said, I've already written a memoir. You know, I've written Vajpayee years. That's a memoir also. Bole, nahi, that's only Kashmir. You write about yourself. You write about your life. So this book actually is about my life. It's not an autobiography. It's, you know, anecdotes picked from here and there, little vignettes. And I think if you read the epilogue, which I thought would make a good introduction or a foreword, but my editor said the beginning is so good that please don't change it. You can have an epilogue. So it's there in the epilogue that it's a story told from the heart, as honestly as I could tell it. Naturally, there are things when you come to a subject like intelligence, which I've spent a whole life, there is only a certain level that you can go up to. There is a red line there. You cannot cross. And that's how this book was written. But it's written honestly. Whatever is there is the honest truth as I know it. And if it is not there, then I don't know it or I can't say it. But intelligence is a fascinating subject. And as I said, I think one of those fortunate people who spent more time in intelligence than most others. Once I came to the Intelligence Bureau as an assistant superintendent of police from Rajasthan, which was my cadre. And I was afraid to enter North Block. It was such a big building, and I said, "Ye kahan ja raha hu?" Or little did I realize or imagine that one day I would actually be sitting in the building across in South Block as part of the Prime Minister's office. So this is luck. This is what. Where it will lead you, nobody knows. But I can tell you honestly that whatever I was, whatever I learned, whatever I became, I owe it mostly to my interaction in Kashmir and getting to know Kashmir. If I had not gone to Kashmir, if I had not been posted to Kashmir, I think I would have retired as a number 2 or number 3 in the Intelligence Bureau. So it's all a question of luck.
So it's actually well said that to write a book, you have to read a library. So that was something that you actually did for the book. So your journey starts back in 1940. You write that it was a cold December morning in Sialkot, Punjab, and the journey starts back then. You came in the Indian Police Services in 1965. You joined the Intelligence Bureau in 1969. So I'll come to 1984. The incidences of 1984 were actually filled with upheavals. Operation Blue Star commemorated and Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated thereafter. Sir, you have been a very close witness of all the happenings in the country in that year. So what were your experiences back then?
84, as you say, was one of the bad years in our history. It was, as you put it, a very turbulent period. And when I think back, I think I was lucky or fortunate that I was not in Delhi those days. I had just been posted to Bhopal. So whatever happened in 1984, I witnessed in Bhopal and from Bhopal. But it was a very bad period, it was a very sad period. And then, Blue Star happened, and after Blue Star, there were the riots, and then, of course, Mrs. Gandhi's assassination. Coming to Mrs. Gandhi's assassination, once Blue Star happened, Mrs. Gandhi knew that her life was limited. It was in danger, it was limited. And the Sikhs could not spare her. And she says that on occasions, even her last visit before she was killed to, I think it was to Odisha. And she said that a couple of days before she was assassinated, that I have given my blood for this country. And I know, if I'm killed, it will also be for the country kind of thing. So she was aware of it. And, I think people around were also aware of it. So there are two questions which arise in my mind. When there was such a threat to Mrs. Gandhi, why was she allowed to be assassinated? Why did this happen? And but a lot of things happen because there is no such thing as foolproof security. Like there is no foolproof intelligence also. There's nothing which everybody knows or we know everything about. Otherwise, nothing will go wrong in the world. 9/11 would not have happened, So, the bigger question, and I have raised it or just mentioned it in this book, that till date, nobody has been able to say who was behind the conspiracy to kill Mrs. Gandhi. I think that's one of the unanswered questions in our history. Mr. Cow, the great Mr. Cow, who founded the RNAW, he has written a note which he left behind, and he said it can be read or opened 25 years after his death. Probably time, I don't know if there's anything in that, but otherwise, there was a committee which went into the assassination of Mrs. Gandhi, and nobody was able to pinpoint or say that there was a conspiracy. And I do believe that there had to be people behind those two Sikh boys, bodyguards, who killed Mrs. Gandhi. They would not have just killed her.
Right, sir. Now we move again to Bhopal. So when the gas tragedy happened, you were also there in the Bhopal. You mentioned in your book how you went from one place to other when the gas tragedy broke out and to know more about the leak. Sir, could you share your experiences with our audience? And also, sir, you mentioned about Nagu Saab. Sir, वो भी किस्सा हमारी audience को बताइए.
Like I said in the book when you started with that trouble seemed to follow me wherever I went. And actually Bhopal is a beautiful, wonderful posting. It's a lovely place, lovely people, very relaxed atmosphere. And coming from the Punjab, it was a unique experience for me because where I went to school and where I went to college and where I went to university and where I grew up, after the partition, there were no Muslims in the Punjab. We have a small pocket called Malerkotla, but other than that, now, well, there are few Muslims here and there, but by and large, Punjab doesn't have a Muslim population. So, Bhopal was a great education for me in getting to know the Muslim community. And you mentioned Nagu Saab, that was one of the places where I learned about togetherness, which I was to follow then in Kashmir. Nagu Saab himself and Nagu Saab's home, where one met more Muslims than Hindus, was a great education for togetherness. When the leak happened, actually, we used to stay in an area where mostly government servants, called 74 Bangle or 74 bungalows. And there was not even a hedge between me and my neighbor, forgetting his name now, he was a South Indian gentleman. He'll come back to me, but he was the secretary in charge of, I think, finance secretary or economic affairs or something in Madhya Pradesh. And he woke me up, the bell rang early morning. And I looked at my watch and my wife also woke up. I said, it's not even 5 o'clock, who's ringing the bell? An early morning call in Bhopal meant that some unexpected guest or visitor has arrived by the GT mail from Delhi. Because the GT mail used to arrive at about 5:30. So I said, ये तो अभी GT mail का time भी नहीं हुआ है, कौन आया है? So I went to my neighbor and colleague and he said, there's been a gas leak in the city. अब हमें तो गैस लीक का भी मतलब समझ नहीं आता था, गैस लीक का क्या मतलब है. And so he said, everybody is leaving the city and where we are preparing to leave. I suggest you also get ready and leave. I didn't know what he was talking about, so I took a walk outside. I said, let's see what's happening outside. And in our area, in 74 bungalows, there was no effect or no impact of the leak. But as I was walking around that area, I bumped into Mr. Najib Jang. You would know him because he used to be Lieutenant Governor here not many years ago. In those days, Najib lived close to us in 74 bungalows, and we were good friends. And Najib, as it so happened, was coming from the city. I said, Najib, kya hua hai? He says, it's not good whatever is happening. People are dying in the city. He says, I've just been there. So to cut this long story short, I went home, I had a bath. About 8:30, I rang up the Chief Minister's house. And I said, I'd like to meet the Chief Minister. And I was called by Mr. Arjun Singh and to see him. Because I said, as Chief Minister, he would know. I had already informed our control room in Delhi that यहाँ गड़बड़ है कुछ. क्या गड़बड़ है मैं बताऊंगा आपको. So I went and met Mr. Arjun Singh and he said, yeah, things are bad. But we are taking due precautions, we are taking care of it. I said, सुना है कि 5-7 लोग मर भी गए. He said, नहीं, उससे बहुत ज़्यादा मर गए. So I was more alarmed. Anyway, this continued during the day. I went to office and we heard of another gas leak at about 11:30. But nobody knew, or nobody. The sad part in Bhopal in those days was that nobody knew about, everybody knew about the Union Carbide factory, but nobody knew about this deadly gas, methyl isocyanate, MIC as it was called in short. And so I asked a couple of colleagues and they said, आप नागू साहब से जाके मिलिए. Because Nagu Sahab had been an advisor with Union Carbide. So I went to Nagu Sahab and again, very welcoming. He said, भाई ऐसा है, मैं ज़्यादा जानता नहीं हूँ, ये केमिस्ट्री के मामले हैं, वो there is a lady, so and so, you go and meet her, she'll be able to give you more information. And then I went and met this lady who was then working with Union Carbide. And she said, yeah, it is a deadly gas. There have been 1 or 2 incidents before also in the factory. And the thing is, it's a very heavy gas. So it doesn't lift easily. That's why there have been so many deaths. And the way to deal with it is, if it's coming this way, if you step aside, you won't be harmed. Or if you put a wet towel over your head or a blanket over your head, which our Madi did and survived. So it was that kind of thing. But the other unfortunate part was that the Union Carbide factory was where most of the poor in Bhopal stayed, not the Jhuggi Jhopdi dwellers and things. So most of the people who died, unfortunately, were poor people. That litigation is still continuing. There are still people who receive those Union Carbide grants and all, which started in '84. So it's an old story. And in between all this, the what's it called, chairman of Union Carbide also appeared in Bhopal the same evening, Anderson. And Arjun Singh ji had him, as he said, arrested in the guest house there. Till Delhi called up and said, what's happening in Bhopal? इसको तो भेजा था आपको गुडविल की जाके कुछ भला करेगा, आप लोगों ने इसको बंद कर दिया. Then a special flight came and rescued Anderson. So it's that kind of story. But for about a week after that, Bhopal was sort of like a ghost city. You know, log bhag gaye the. There was a lot of fear, a lot of panic in the city. So one of those places where trouble followed me.
So, in 1988, you took charge of Intelligence Bureau in Kashmir. You were posted as the joint director there. Your initial years in Kashmir were very different from your previous postings. So you saw the exodus of the Pandits and all the incidences that happened thereafter. Now, since you are an expert in Kashmir, sir, could you please share your experiences from your perspective of the early 90s? और सर वो जो प्रदीप साहनी जी से आपकी शुरुआत में बात हुई थी, उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा बताइएगा।
Yeah. As I had spent almost 4 years in Bhopal, and our outstation postings were normally 3 years, so I was overdue to go back to headquarters. When I got a phone call from Delhi saying that we know that you will be coming back to Delhi, but would you consider a posting in Srinagar? तो मैंने कहा एक दो दिन दीजिए, मैं बताता हूँ आपको। मैंने सोचा दिल्ली से तो सारी जगह बेहतर है, कश्मीर के बारे में तो बहुत सुना है। It will be a good holiday there, आराम करेंगे, and the summers will be very nice. And that's how it started when I went there in '88. The first half of '88 was wonderful. Okay, on weekends we used to go on picnics and things. And, the valley is beautiful. It's as beautiful as Switzerland is. So, ऐसा माहौल था, बड़ा अच्छा माहौल था. Then suddenly things started going wrong. The first bombs in Srinagar went off on the 31st of July 1988 में. और मैंने कहा ये क्या हो रहा है? तो एक हम उसमें श्रीनगर में एक जेल के पुलिस का अफसर था, सप्रू। तो मैंने सप्रू साहब को बुलाया, मैंने कहा सप्रू साहब मुझे समझाओ ये क्या हो रहा है। और खबर ये भी आ रही है कि लड़के आ रहे हैं बाहर से, पार से। इससे सर ये चलता रहता है कश्मीर में, आना जाना जो है ना, ये कोई ऐसी बात नहीं है। It's not unusual. Of course, you mentioned Pradeep Sani. Now that's a family we knew from Delhi. And so Pradeep mujhe mila. His parents were very well known to me. He was still a youngster. And he was running a flour mill in the city for his father. So uska aana jana tha city mein. He knew downtown quite well, and he sort of whispered in my ear कि यहाँ हालात बिगड़ने वाले हैं, यहाँ कुछ गड़बड़ है। मैंने कहा क्या गड़बड़ है? He said ये आपको पता लगाना है। And unfortunately, as I mentioned, he got killed. You know, he got very sad. उसकी शादी हुई थी about the time when I was leaving Srinagar in the spring of 1990. That he had just got married, and I met him at a reception hosted for him in Jammu. And I said, "Mubarak ho, और ये वो क्या program है?" He said, "मैं श्रीनगर जा रहा हूँ." मैंने कहा मत जाओ श्रीनगर, हालात बहुत खराब है। He said, "लेकिन पापा अकेले हैं, I have to go." I said, "Be very careful." And unfortunately, soon after he came to Srinagar, he got killed. So that period that you were talking of, 88 to 90, was not a very good period in Kashmir, particularly the winter of 89-90 was a terrible time. और मैं तो जब कश्मीर से निकला, जगमोहन साहब की मेहरबानी थी, and तो I was very relieved, I was very happy, and मैंने कहा it's good to get out of this hell, you know. Little did I realize that the hell would not let go of me. So a year later, हमारे जो DIV साहब थे नारायण साहब, जिन्होंने मुझे कश्मीर भेजा था, उन्होंने वापस बुलाया कि तुम एक साल बहुत मौज की है, वापस आओ, अब कश्मीर को फिर संभालो. So then a second sort of innings started, and that innings has never ended. Even today, मैं आता जाता हूँ, लड़के आते रहते हैं, मिलते रहते हैं, and Kashmiris know that our home or our house is an open house for them. So it's become a very long thing. And like I said at the beginning, that everything that I've become over a period of time, I owe to Kashmir.
Thank you for that answer, sir. Sir, you devised a unique way to handle critical situations through dialogue and deliberations. You just mentioned everyone had an open door to your house, including terrorists and separatists. Sir, you even mentioned in your book, Doval knows what to do better. And sir, but what do we observe now, quote unquote, Doval साहब तो डंडा चला रहे हैं. Sir, how do we manage both the methods, the Doval doctrine and the Dulat method, to bring long-term solution in Kashmir? Where does the solution lies?
देखिए, ऐसा है कि हर एक का अपना अपना मेथड होता है. मेरा कोई डॉक्ट्रिन नहीं है, मेरा बड़ा ओपन सिलसिला है. डोवल साहब के बारे में लोग कहते हैं उनका डॉक्ट्रिन है, उनका तरीका, तौर तरीका अलग है मेरे से. And we have worked together on Kashmir. We were colleagues. I was at headquarters and he was in Srinagar. And I said, Ajit, I know your ways are different. You do it your way. I know you will produce results, and that's all that we want. And he produced results. So that's a separate matter. लेकिन जितना मेरा कॉन्टैक्ट रहा है कश्मीर के साथ, उतना डोवल साहब ने तो बहुत कुछ किया है ना. हमने तो कश्मीर के अलावा कुछ किया ही नहीं. So that's why I got so attached and I became so involved with Kashmir. And I realized at the very outset, जब मैंने कहा ना कि जगमोहन साहब की मेहरबानी से मुझे वहाँ से फुर्सत मिली, तो जगमोहन साहब didn't want me in Kashmir. He wanted me out. Because the story at that time was that I was very close to Farooq. And so Farooq in any case had to be dismissed or whatever, but Farooq resigned before he could be dismissed. So when Jagmohan Saab came back soon after that, he made sure that, I would be out of Kashmir, and I was grateful to him. अब बात आपने कश्मीरी पंतों की, I witnessed that because I was there when it happened. In the beginning of late 89 and beginning of 90. And लोग कहते हैं कि इसमें जगमोहन साहब was to blame. I will say that I'm no fan of Jagmohan, but Jagmohan was not to blame. It was sheer fright, sheer panic and fear which got the pundits moving. And when the pundits started moving, I'd say that Jagmohan Saab was relieved because he knew कि अगर पंडित रुक जाते तो और पंडित मारे जाते, तो इसलिए he didn't want that to happen. And, so the pundits left in a rush, And it was, as I say, a very scary time, very difficult to imagine it today. लेकिन उस टाइम की बात भी मैं आपको बताऊं कि जब जगमोहन साहब जब वापस आते हैं, I think it was the 23rd of January, जब वो श्रीनगर पहुंचते हैं, 2 दिन रास्ते में जम्मू रुकते हैं, वहाँ उनके लिए बड़े जश्न वशन होते हैं. And when he arrived in Srinagar, the first person he calls is me, कि भाई आगे बताओ क्या हो रहा है यहाँ. And I go and meet him, and one of his advisors, he had 2 or 3 advisors, but one had come along with him, Mr. Ved Marwa, who was later to be, Commissioner of Police in Delhi also. तो जगमोहन साहब ने कहा कि अब करना क्या है. मैंने कहा सर 2 ही तरीके हैं, या इन लोगों से बात कर लीजिए या डंडा लगा लीजिए. तो जगमोहन साहब ने कहा मैं तो बात करूँगा, मैं सबको जानता हूँ. मैंने कहा सर आप सबको जानते हैं, लेकिन आज वो लोग शायद आपके साथ बात ना करें. और इतनी सी बात हुई, फिर मैं बाहर आ गया तो मारवा साहब ने मुझे डांटा, ये क्या बकवास कर रहे हो, बातचीत बातचीत, कोई बातचीत नहीं, अब डंडा लगेगा। मैंने कहा सर लगाओ डंडा। तो डंडा लगा, लोग मारे गए। जगमोहन साहब की भी छुट्टी हो गई उसी में, मारधार में। And then one saw a lot of things happening, and I was convinced from the start, after seeing what I saw, that if there is a way out of Kashmir, it has to do with talking, and never stop talking. And I think today also in Kashmir, we claim everything is under control. I always fear for Kashmir. It's been a very calm, a very peaceful, a very quiet Ramzan. And when Ramzan passes quietly, that also can be ominous. I hope I'm wrong, but sometimes it always tells me that something bad may be in the offing. So, आजकल कश्मीर के हालात अच्छे हैं और हम we hope and pray that they remain like that. कश्मीरियों के हालात अच्छे नहीं हैं, but the Kashmiri is very quiet and उसने बोलना ही तकरीबन बंद कर दिया है, which is not a very healthy thing. And last time I was there in June last year, and when I spoke to Kashmiris, they said कुछ नहीं है, क्या बात करनी है, अब we expect nothing now. So it's that kind of thing, which is not a good thing to happen. After all, Kashmir is a part of our country, and Kashmiris are the same as us. So I think there should be better ways of dealing. I think what Kashmir needs is what Narasimha Rao did in 1996, when he said we've had enough of governor's rule, election karwana bahut zaruri hai, and this governor's rule had to end. So he revived the political and democratic process, and I think today also we need a revival of that.
सर कश्मीर की बात आई, आपने कश्मीरियों की बात की। इस बीच सर दुल्लत साहब और डॉक्टर साहब की जोड़ी खूब फेमस होती है। Your dear friend Mr. Farooq Abdullah had great relations with you. You were even questioned for this relation since this was with a political personality of that stature. Sir, आपका ये भी मानना है कि he is the only person whom Delhi can approach to establish long-term peace in the valley. So what are your experiences on these developments, and how do you see this instrumental role of Mr. Farooq Abdullah?
Yes, first of all, let me clarify that I can never be a friend of Dr. Farooq Abdullah. Farooq Abdullah is a big man, you know? And somebody who will be chief minister thrice, and I have only been a bureaucrat. I can't claim friendship with Dr. Farooq. But Dr. Farooq has been very kind to me. There's a different story here, and let me tell you that story. That when I got posted to Kashmir in 1988, and I came to meet the DIB here to get briefing from him, and he said कि भाई तुम कश्मीर जा रहे हो तो फारूक का खास ख्याल रखना. We want Farooq on our side. So when I came out of that room, I was a little surprised, because whatever I had heard prior to my posting was that Farooq Abdullah was totally with Delhi. And in those days, there was also an alliance with the Congress. You know, Rajiv and Farooq had reached an alliance in 86. 87 में इलेक्शन हुआ, इन्हीं की सरकार थी दोनों की. तो I was a bit puzzled कि ये बात क्या है. तो मैं बाहर आया, my colleague Ratan Sehgal, who was Mr. Narayanan's staff officer, I said, Ratan, what's the problem with Farooq? He said, no, there's no problem with Farooq. But Rajiv wants that this relationship should grow, and Delhi should have an even better relationship. So when I went to Srinagar, that was my main job in 1988. That's how I got close to Farooq Saab. And ever since then, he's always been kind to me. We have a good relationship. मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि दो चार अल्फाजों में I want to remind you that when Dr. Farooq joined politics, one of his first statements in October 1981, I think it is, and Farooq said that I would like to be a bridge between Delhi and Srinagar. And his father, the great Sheikh Abdullah, had warned him कि सियासत, कश्मीर में सियासत मुश्किल है, आसान नहीं है यहाँ. It is like jumping into the Jhelum and swimming against the tide. And Farooq Abdullah told me when I was leaving Kashmir in March 1990, I'm not going to swim against the tide. दिल्ली में जो भी होगा हम उसके साथ चलेंगे. और डॉक्टर साहब ने यही किया. And he is the only Kashmiri leader. I have met almost every Kashmiri leader that there is in Kashmir. He is the only Kashmiri leader who understands not only Kashmir but Delhi. हमारे मुफ्ती साहब यहाँ यूनियन होम मिनिस्टर रहे, लेकिन वो दिल्ली को नहीं समझ पाए जितना डॉक्टर साहब समझते हैं. तो आज भी मैं कहता हूँ कि if we want to connect, if we are looking for a connect with Kashmir, there is no better bridge, there is no better person than Farooq Abdullah. People say you say it because Farooq is your friend. I say it not because I can ever be a friend of Farooq. I say it for the sake of Kashmir and for the sake of India.
सर, जैसे आपने कहा कि रमज़ान में भी शांति है, यू होप दैट यू आर प्रूव्ड रॉन्ग. तो सर हम सभी यही चाहेंगे कि ये तूफान से पहले की शांति ना हो, इट इज़ अ परमानेंट पीस. फारूक साहब के सर साथ भी आपके रिलेशन ऐसे रहे. सर एक अंतिम सवाल आपसे लेना चाहूँगा कि it has been widely observed that IPS officers are made chiefs of a service that is actually different from the one they have served in. आप भी शुरुआती दौर में आपने इंटेलिजेंस ब्यूरो में in the most part of your career you served, but at the end you were made the chief of the research and analysis wing. So you mentioned that it took time for you and even the people out there to adjust and adapt. Do you look forward to some administrative reforms in this regard, sir?
कैसे एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म, किस चीज़ की आप बात करें? इंटेलिजेंस सर्विसेज की?
Sir, in intelligence services and even the Central Armed Police Services.
And
the Central Armed Police Services, sir.
You see, I think the police service is fine. I don't think there's anything distinct. You see, also let me be honest and tell you that I have never seriously been a police officer because I did not even serve in a district in my cadre. I was still an ASP when I was brought to Delhi. So I have been all my life an intelligence officer, more than a police officer. I'm very proud to belong to the Indian Police Service. लेकिन पुलिस का काम मैंने नहीं खास किया है, बल्कि in 96 when Dr. Farooq Abdullah came back as Chief Minister, he sent me a message saying कि Kashmir आ जाओ as DG. He wanted me to come as DG Police. The person who brought me the message was who was going to be Chief Secretary Ashok Jaitley, और मैंने उसको अशोक को कहा, मैंने कहा भाई मैं फिट नहीं आता यहाँ. देखिए मैंने पुलिस का काम नहीं किया है और मैं I don't belong to this cadre. तो राजस्थान हो तो और बात है, यहाँ तो मैं किसी को मतलब मैं जानता हूँ, अब मैं जानने लग गया हूँ, but I am not familiar with police work. As far as the agencies go, yes, I think there is need for little change happening. मैंने इस किताब में भी जिक्र किया है कि IB में तो change एक time था when in the IB there was a great reluctance to take in Muslim officers. Now we've had a Muslim chief in the IB. So the IB has no problem, but the RLW still has a problem. And I've also made the point that neither of the agencies have yet been headed by a lady. Whereas all over the world, the agencies, at least I can say this of Great Britain, that the agencies have been headed by women. So हमारे यहाँ भी time आ गया है. Ladies should also be, women should also be given a chance.
Thank you so much, sir, for this. I think that the women being inducted in the Indian Defence Forces, they are now straight away looking forward for the intelligence services, and as you say, they are there for the top. So thank you for the insights that you gave us. The thoughts were actually enriching. I hope that the audience here has taken a lot of things from here. I would expect some questions from the audience now. I would see what they have, and after that we'll be coming to the end of the discussion.
Sir, what we see today is that a lot of bureaucrats are meant to do things they don't want to under immense political pressure. आपके टाइम में आपके साथ कभी ऐसा हुआ? Sir, what we see today is that a lot of bureaucrats are meant to do things under immense political pressure what they don't want to. कभी आपके टाइम में आपके साथ ऐसा हुआ है कि under political pressure आपको कोई काम करना पड़ गया हो?
नहीं, कभी नहीं हुआ. देखिए, हमारे यहाँ तब ऐसा था, आपने just a very raw nerve. ऐसा था कि सुनते थे कि पॉलिटिकल प्रेशर होता है. मैं तो थोड़ी देर ही रहा राजस्थान. In the intelligence services, of course, there is no question of any political pressure. But in the state, in the police, yeah, there was talk like in the IAS and whatever that political pressure. Again, whatever my brief stay in Rajasthan, I never felt that or witnessed it. Sukhadia ji was my chief minister in those days, and he was very good, very kind. There was never any question of any pressure. So, if pressure, political pressure की बात करते हो, तो एक और चीज़ मुझे, which is connected, and that is the question of corruption. In our time, it's not that corruption was not talked about, but there were very, very few officers who, people pointed fingers at. Today, there are very, very few officers here who people can say are totally clean, because corruption has reached a different level altogether. I'm sorry to say this, but that's the sense one gets. And that is why also, in my time, when I joined service, I was very keen to join the foreign service. हमने सोचा foreign service में जाएंगे, ऐश करेंगे, घूमेंगे, दुनिया देखेंगे. And I didn't make it. I didn't make it to the foreign service. I didn't make it to the IAS. I made it to the central service, which are now some of the most sought after. The income tax and the customs. अगर बेटी की शादी करानी है तो कस्टम वाले से कराओ या इनकम टैक्स वाले से कराओ. So it's that kind of thing. It's a sad thing. It's a sad reflection on our bureaucracy that we've gone that way. Like I heard, I was surprised to hear one of your colleagues say that where is that youngster? That political science is the most. So वहाँ पे कोई वजह है political science की.
So thank you so much for answering our questions wonderfully. Sir, ये हमारे लिए एक सौभाग्य की बात है कि आपने हमारा invitation स्वीकार किया और and you came here. So it is always said, गुलजार साहब की दो लाइनें याद आती हैं कि अभी न पर्दा गिराओ, ठहरो, दास्तां और भी बाकी है. Sir, in 2004, so back in 2004, you write that your career as a spy ended. But sir, that was the time when we got a man to study, to admire, one who got a new method of intelligence, one who was a great station in the intelligence. Thank you so much, sir, for having us. Thank you.
Utkarsh ji, thank you very, very much. And Shikhar Saab, thank you. And thank you all here. And thank you. Please, thank your principal also. I met her we all met her while coming up. And I don't know what Preetham has to say now, but anyway, thank you all very, very much. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be here. Thank you. And sometimes I feel I missed out on Hindu college.
With this, we come to the end of this wonderful session. Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed an honor for all of us, the entire Hindu college, to have you with us today. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Avnindra Yadav, President of the caucus, to felicitate Sri A.S. Dulat, sir. Thank you so much everyone for sitting patiently and listening to sir. Thank you. The next session will begin shortly. Please be with us. Thank you.